to the Environmental Learning Center at Clackamas Community College. I'm Maggie, an educator here, and this is week 6 of our Wildlife in the Watershed live stream series, where each week we learn about a different animal that calls the wetland their home. We've already learned about a ton of different cool creatures, including mallards, beavers, raccoons, many more. And this week we are learning about our friends, the coyote. Coyotes are super important predators here in the wetland, and I'm very excited to be sharing more about them with you today. The ELC is a wetland, meaning it is an area of land that is covered with water. And one of the coolest things about wetlands is the fact that they slow down, cool off, and filter water in a way that results in a cool, clean place for all types of plants and animals to live. So coyotes find all aspects of their habitat here in wetlands, which is food, water, shelter, space, and a place to raise their young. And we're going to be going through them all today together. Coyotes are also super cool in the fact that they are super adaptable. So they are able to live in all types of different places, eat all types of different food, which really helps them survive wherever they are. Have you ever seen a coyote before? I've only seen one a couple times, but I do know that coyotes live in my neighborhood, and they probably live in your neighborhood too, which is super interesting. So in order to better get to know these guys, we're going to be taking a closer look at the adaptations of this coyote. We are going to be looking at coyotes here in Oregon City who live nearby. And then we are going to be figuring out some ways that coyotes fit into the local food web. So it's going to be a super great time. I'm so excited that you're joining me today. Before we get started, I'd like to introduce Michelle, who is our camera person today and the one monitoring the Zoom chat. So if you have any questions at any point about coyotes during this live stream, please make sure to put them in the Zoom chat and I'll make time at the end to answer them all. You also should hopefully have an activity sheet in front of you. This week's activity sheet is titled Coyote, Your Wildlife Neighbor. And the top section is a wetland food web. So once we talk a little bit more about what a food web is, you'll be able to draw one yourself and see how all of these different species interact with each other. And then the bottom section of the page is a really fun coyote Mad Lib. So you've probably played a Mad Lib before, but if not, basically, it is a story that has some blank spaces for you to put various words. So mostly nouns, adjectives, and verbs. And if you, for any reason, forget what a noun, adjective, or verb is, they are listed at the bottom as well. And so you can just fill it in with whatever fun words you'd like. So for example, the first sentence could be, on a warm spring night, 4 coyote pups peeped out of their burrow in the night or something, whatever. So super fun game for you to play later. Well, let's go ahead and get started taking a look at this guy. So coyotes, as you could probably notice, look a lot like domesticated dogs, so our pet dogs. You might also mistake it for a wolf or maybe even a fox. And the reason why is because they're actually really closely related. They're all canines, and there's a lot of things about them that makes it clear that they're canines. But one of my favorite tips for being able to tell the difference between a coyote or a dog or a wolf at a distance. So let's say you're seeing one, running past you while you're hiking or even just walking around your neighborhood. And you're like, wait, was that a dog? You can go ahead and know this trick in order to know what type of animal you're looking at. So it's all in the coyote's tail. So as a coyote walks or runs, they keep their tail down. While when wolves are much bigger, firstly, but wolves can also, you can also tell it's a wolf by the fact that their tail sticks straight out. And then with domesticated dogs or other dogs, their tail tends to curve up, and it's probably wagging and all types of things dogs do. So yeah, foxes also have tails that point downwards, but their tails tend to be so long that they actually touch the ground, while coyotes' tails don't. So that's a really easy way for you to be able to, from a distance, know if you're looking at a coyote. There's, of course, many different parts to them that you can also tell make them a coyote, including their size. So right at the coyote's shoulders, which are right here, from the ground to their shoulders is roughly 2 feet. And they tend to weigh anywhere from 15 to 40 pounds. So they can have a wide variety of sizes, but that's typically about how big they are. And you can go ahead, let's zoom in on their face a little bit. You can see they've got these pointed ears that can be up or down or to the side, but their senses are really fantastic. So as for their adaptations that help them to survive, they have an amazing sense of smell. So they can smell all types of things from pretty far distances. And their teeth as well are a really, really important part. So let me go ahead and show you. I actually have a coyote skull right here. And you can actually tell a lot about an animal based off of their skull. So not only like what we talked about with the raccoon skull, the fact that coyotes have super sharp canine teeth in the front. These teeth are perfect for ripping apart flesh of animals that they've caught, but they also have slightly flatter, molars in the back. And those molars help them break down plant, matter and items that they're eating. So you can tell that coyotes are, in fact, omnivores, and so they eat both plants and animals. So they'll eat all types of little mammals, like squirrels, chipmunks, moles, pretty much anything you can think of. They'll also eat birds and fish if the opportunity arises, eggs, large insects as well, all types of stuff. And as for plants, they will eat all types of berries and fruits and seeds and nuts and all types of stuff. So that's one reason why coyotes have been super successful across pretty much the entire North American continent, is because of the fact that they can adapt to wherever they are. If one of their food sources disappears, they can easily just start eating something else most of the time. And so that's super great for them. Another thing about this coyote skull that can tell you a lot about this coyote is the fact that their eyes are facing forward. So unlike an animal such as a deer, whose eyes are on the sides of its head, a coyote is looking straight forward like us humans. And you probably know that the reason why their eyes are facing forward is because they are predators. And so they're searching for prey to catch. Unlike deers that have their vision on the sides of their head because they are looking out for predators that might be trying to catch them. So super cool things you can learn just by looking at the skull of an animal, which is super great. Another one of my favorite things about coyotes is all of the fun sounds that they make. So as you can see, this mount is in a howling position, and that's because coyotes do howl. They also yip and bark and make a ton of other really interesting sounds, and that's mostly for communicating with other coyotes. So they'll live in packs of families, so it will tend to be the two parent coyotes and their children will stay together for a long time, but they'll go out individually to hunt or to find their own mate and create their own family. But in order to communicate with each other and with other packs that might be getting too close to their territory, they will make howling noises and all types of interesting sounds, which are really cool. So I wanted to show you really quickly a couple coyotes that were spotted here in Oregon City. So coyotes have been spotted here at the ELC specifically, but we haven't been able to get any photos of them. And so I wanted to show you some coyotes that live close by that probably have visited the ELC at some point. Okay. So what I've got here is, these aren't in Oregon City, but I just wanted to show you what a coyote's den looks like. So they will dig holes or find holes that some other animal dug, and that is where they will hide, sleep, be protected from weather, and also raise their young. So they'll give live birth to about 4 to 7 pups, which are what we call baby coyotes, and they will be raised there and live there. So if you ever see a really large hole, that might be a coyote den. But here are the coyotes here in Oregon City. These ones were spotted back in 2019, I believe, but only 7 minutes from where I'm standing right now. And so as you can see on the right here, we've got probably the mother coyote, and then we've got on the left all of her babies. So they probably have a den somewhere in those rocks because they don't tend to stray too far from the den. And as you can see, these coyotes look really red. So their fur has a lot more of a reddish color than the coyote mount I was showing you. And that's because they can have a lot of variety to their fur. So they'll have sometimes like grayish fur, sometimes reddish, and all types of stuff like that. So I want to discuss really quickly about how coyotes fit into the food web and what exactly a food web is. So firstly, you may have heard of a food chain before, and a food chain is the order in which animals eat each other. So if we have, let's say, for example, we've got some berries. I got some snowberries right here. We've got a little mallard. We've got a little worm. This isn't a real worm, but use your imagination. And a coyote. In what order would these animals eat each other? Well, what do we know a mallard eats out of these things? Well, a mallard could eat a worm. A mallard could also eat a berry. Let's say they're eating a berry. And then let's say the coyote is eating the mallard. And let's say the worm is a decomposer, which means they break down dead plants and animals. And so once that coyote dies, the worm decomposes its body. Okay, so this is a food chain. It's in a straight line, well, it could also be a circle. So what the worm decomposes could actually go back to feeding the plants. So it would help out the snowberry. So it can be a nice complete circle, but it's pretty simple, straightforward, and that's a food chain. But what's more accurate to our ecosystem and all ecosystems is a food web, because this isn't the only order that you can put these animals, right? We know that mallards will also eat worms. So maybe the worms over here. Coyotes will actually eat mallards, worms, and berries, right? And then if we were to add in even more creatures, let's say we add in a rabbit, the rabbit will eat berries. The coyote will also eat the rabbit. And then we can add in fungi as well. This is some shelf fungi I just picked up here at the ELC that helps break down plant matter, but other types of fungi can also break down animal matter. And so that guy also gets added to our decomposers, but the rabbit might eat the fungi, and it really becomes far more of a complex web of various connections. It's not as straightforward as the food chain would have led you to believe. So I want to show you here on my slideshow. This is an example of a food chain. As you can see, very similarly, we have a decomposer, we have plants, the snail eats the plant, the bird eats the snail, the fox eats the bird, the decomposer breaks down the fox, and the cycle continues. And that is a great food chain. But then here is the food web. So you can see it's a lot more complex. Various animals eat all types of different ones. They can go in all different directions. Everything eventually goes back to the decomposer if you're looking at the gray arrows. And so this is just a really clear showing. Because coyotes can eat so many different things, like I said before, if one of the animals or plants on this web disappears, the coyote can likely still have something to eat, which is super important. So alrighty, looks like we're running a little short on time, but I want to make sure to have time to answer any of your questions about coyotes. So please go ahead and put them in the chat if you haven't already. One question that I had about coyotes was about how fast they can run. I know that's a pretty popular question. And I looked it up, and coyotes can actually run 35 to 40 miles per hour. So they don't tend to run super fast a lot, but they do occasionally need to speed up in order to catch a prey. They also do this really cool thing of pouncing on a prey. If you've ever seen like a coyote or a fox on a trampoline, they're pouncing. Those are super cute videos, but looks like we have a question. Great question. Someone asked, how long do coyotes live? So they tend to live 10 to 15 years, but a coyote in captivity has also been known to live over 20 years. So it's a good question. Someone asked, how tall can coyotes jump? Now, I'm actually not sure about that. I've seen videos of coyotes jumping a good, foot in the air to pounce on something. But as for jumping straight upwards, I actually have no idea. So I recommend you look that up yourself because that's a super interesting question.
Where did you get the skull?
It's a good question. Someone asked, where did you get the coyote skull? So this skull is actually a replica of a real life skull. This is just so that I'm less likely to break it, but we got it from the Oregon Department of Fish and Wildlife. Super cool. Alrighty, thank you so much for all of your amazing questions. I'm glad that you're excited about coyotes, and I hope that you'll join us next week to learn about our friends, the owl. But until then, take care, get outside, and respect all those who live there. All right, till then, bye.